Uh, Hi everyone. We are from Group 6 and we're going to present to you about Let the Subaltern Speak. I'm Siti Sarah and I would like to present to you my story. Um, Sarah,
Go sit down. I'll do the talking.
why?
Because you're taking forever? No, go. Just sit down. I'll talk about you.
But it's my story.
But then I can talk about you better than you can talk about yourself.
But then if you tell my story, then it will be your story.
But then it will still be a better story than yours.
Oh my god, I didn't know
Did
it.
you just say that to me?
What does it feel when someone speaks on your behalf without your consent? And how would you respond when your voice is lost in translation?
In critical theory and post-colonialism, subalterns refers to the populations that are socially, politically, and graphically outside of the hegemonic power structure of the colony and the colonial homeland. The term subalterns and subaltern studies entered post-colonial studies through the work of the Subaltern Studies Group and a collection of South Asian historians. Speaking for others is one of the major debates in post-colonial studies. In Edward Said's classic book Orientalism, he argued that the West's knowledge age and representations of the West of the world were part and parcel of its domination. In other words, the West spoke for the others. Spivak's term epistemic violence means the infliction of harm against subject through discourse. It occurs through the marginalization of the certain voices within Western discourses. These voices belong to the subaltern. She has shown that to be heard, to be listened, and to be taken seriously, others must also adopt Western thought, reasoning, and languages. In other words, in order to be heard, you need to be Western. Even when the subaltern expressing their own views, they're still not able to express their true self. Thus, in order to be taken seriously, the life world of the subaltern is translated into the language of science, development of philosophy, dominated by Western concepts and Western languages. Spivak suggests the subaltern must always be caught in translation, never truly expressing their self, but always already interpreted. No need to hear your voice when I can talk about you better than you can speak about yourself. And even if they can speak, will their voices be heard?
Hello, good day. I'm Raaghini Balakrishnan from Al Jazeera, reporting live from Vancouver, Canada. Here in the local court, we are covering on the case of land claim. This is an example of the apparent impossibility of subaltern voices to be heard in modern Canada. The Aborigines in Canada, named as Wet'suwet'en and Gitxsan, fights for their land claim rights at the local court in Smithers. While they were able to subvert the smooth running of the modern space of court with the performances of their knowledges, ultimately the Wet'suwet'en and the Gitxsan's voice was not properly heard in the court. This was because of the witnesses from both Gitxsan and Wet'suwet'en sung ceremonial song in the court. Among them were the Wet'suwet'en Kungaks and the many Gitxsan Limsoi, each of which evoked the Adawak, the form of historical geographical record of particular Gitxsan's houses. One aspect of the First Nations' subversive courtroom performance was the repeated demonstration of the vitality and importance of their oral histories. There was a great deal of controversy in court about having such oral records accepted as legitimate evidence in exemption to the hearsay rule.
Could it not be written out and asked if this is the wording? Really, we are on the verge of getting way off track here, Miss Grant. Again, I don't want to be skeptical, but to have witnesses singing songs in court is, in my respectful opinion, not the proper way to approach the problem. Except, in very few cases, the totality of the evidence raises serious doubts about the reliability of the adult immigrant guests as evidence of detailed history or land ownership, use, or occupation.
In a Western juridical field that conventionally accepts only written and cartographic documentation of territory, such oral traditions were cast as illegitimate. This highlights the inability of the judge and the Canadian justice system more generally to understand the First Nations voice. This is an oppression faced by the subalterns, which their voices were not respected and accepted by the law, the system, and the people of the country itself.
Hey si gadis yang manis.
I saw him dancing there by the
Oh my god, so oppressed.
MashaAllah, look at that hair color. Does she feel comfortable? European explorers noted the practice of veiling, seeing it as both a backward covering of women and being intrigued by what the veil might conceal. According to Spivak, 1994, white men wanting to save brown women from brown men, hence they want to free the women from the prison of their veil. It is interesting that despite the list of religious artifacts mentioned, it is the veil that has aroused so much interest and debate. Regarding this matter, we have interviewed two students from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris. Hi, my name is Pia.
Yes.
What do you call this?
This is called a purdah, which is worn by Muslims. Yes, normally in the Arabian region, like Saudi Arabia, because they really to protect themselves from the dust or in the sands. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about Malaysian Muslim women who are wearing burqa?
To me, I believe they have to refer back to the law of their own religion, Muslim, whether it is actually necessary to wear or not. Because if I'm not mistaken, for a woman, they are supposed to cover themselves all together and show part of their faces. They have to cover their hands and their feet, and then this part they have to use this protector, like a glove, so that they don't show too much skin. I think it's okay to show the face, but to me in Malaysia, I recommend that it's best for them to show their faces because it displays your emotion, your personality, and your image as a Malaysian. Yes, Malaysian needs to show their face as a smile of happiness.
Do you think wearing this restrict a woman?
For me, there is a 50-50 view on it. It does restrict a woman because people will be afraid to approach them because they don't know whether this person is actually trying to have a good intention or a bad intention because it's very ambiguous. Secondly, it is a good thing because they're portraying good example of Muslims and how it is a good character to actually have good portrayal of their image. There is a 50-50 view on it, is my opinion. Others have their own rights to it.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, hello Derek.
Hi.
What do you think about women in Malaysia wearing this piece of
Yeah.
burqa?
I mean,
Are you okay with it?
of course I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it anywhere. I think if someone wants to wear something, they should be able to, as long as it's not like ridiculous. But I don't know. The whole issue with like women wearing a burqa or purdah or whatever, or even hijab, is like it seems so silly that people actually make a big deal out of it. You know, like it's like it should be your choice.
So, do you think wearing this restrict a women?
Not really. Not like, what? You have to, if you want to eat food, you have to go like this. It's not really a restriction. Like, maybe, perhaps it restricts in the way only of like, not physical, but perhaps what other people think. And it's maybe restricting as far as other people giving you like your full rights and like what you deserve, because you know how some people think, oh, she's wearing a burqa, it's weird, I don't know, I don't like it, she should have to show her face, I can't tell if she's whatever, you know.
When the Muslim women are asked, many claim it as a part of their own identity, as a symbol of a global sisterhood rather than a patriarchal sign. The veil is not a part of the religious laws of Islam, but instead is based around cultural values concerning the modesty of women. Many independent and capable women are veiled. It seems it has become a fashion, with the color and material of the headscarf being chosen with the same amount of attention given as with the remainder of the outfit.
Hey, Shameem,
Yeah.
have you ever thought, just out of curiosity, that how original we are?
How original? What do you mean by how original I am?
I mean that I'm a Malay,
Yeah.
but I indulge too much in Western movies,
Yes.
and also like heck, I'm speaking their language right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? What exactly is my identity?
I think we are in the same boat. I mean, look at me. I am of Indian descent, but when I go out, usually I wear baju kurung. And I speak, what do I speak?
You speak English.
I speak English or I speak BM. But do I take a lot of pride in my heritage? Absolutely yes. So, Sarah, we are the product of hybridity. You have to understand that.
So wait, hybridity? Are you talking about the hybridity theory by Homi Bhabha?
As a matter of fact, yes. Homi Bhabha defines hybridity as what is the new. It's neither the one nor the self, but it is also something else besides.
In other words,
Okay, in simpler words, it's neither Milo or Nescafe. It is mocha. Hybridity, as proposed by Homi Bhabha, is the total opposite of what Edward Said had said in Orientalism. In Orientalism, we learn that a person is either one thing or the other, black or white, Orient or Occident. When we talk about hybridity, we look into the gray areas, or what we call the third space, where integration happens between the colonized and the colonizers, between the self and the other. Now, let's look at a few examples of hybridity in our everyday life context. Let's take a look at our local hip-hop group, Too Fat. This duo, for example, they integrate hip-hop and traditional Malay folk songs into a new genre of music, and what they produced is amazing.
Tapi kejujuran hadiah sepatah darimu satu kesyukuran. Tapi bila bertentang mata tidak terbentang kata. Kata apa saja iya tapi tentang apa. Wajahmu yang cantik manis lagi. Senyuman sepasti mentari timur tiap pagi. Realiti sukar diatasi, tapi kesudahan indah harus.
Pisang goreng cheese, for example, is the newest craze in Malaysia. We integrate two completely opposite food, pisang goreng and cheese, to form a new hybrid. That is pisang goreng cheese. The same goes to India's McDonald's menu. In India, it is chicken Maharaja Mac and Mac Aloo Tikki.
so is this the process of blending? You mean that instead of rejecting all these conflicting identities, we should embrace it?
Of course, life itself is a form of celebration.
So what about mimicking?
Mimicking? Alright, Homi Bhabha also mentioned mimicry. In post-colonial context, when the other is mimicking, he is actually trying to normalize himself by trying to repeat the social norms, the behaviors, and the values of the South. Okay, for example, have you watched the Deepavali ad by Petronas?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's watch it now.
Yo, what? Come on, check it out. What? Yo, what? Come on, check it out. What?
What's up? Yeah, what's up, my brother? Right there, right there, right there.
Yo, where you got the shoes from, bro?
These kicks right here, just picked them up, latest edition, and hand signed with the man himself.
Yo, enough of talk, man.
Yeah.
It's time to party.
Party.
All right, let's go.
Let's go party, party, party.
Hey, Gina lah. Hey Gina, hey Lakshmi, how you girls doing? Hey.
What's up, Gina? Hey, I'm Diggity. Excuse me. Party.
Yeah, man, we gonna party it up tonight.
Party.
நீ சின்ன தோற அப்ப கூப்பிடுறேன் பேசாம இருக்கிறீங்க ஏன் இப்படி இருக்கிறீங்க நெஞ்சு சொல்லியா
இல்ல
அப்புறம் ஆமா உங்களாம் யாரு
கூட்டாளி
கூட்டாளியா பேர் என்ன ஐயா
Sam.
என்னப்பா சாம்ங்கிறீங்க நல்ல பேர் இல்ல
Muthusami.
ஆ?
Muthusami Karpaya Vatti பேரு.
சாமி கருப்பியா நல்ல பேர் சாமி பேரு சரி இந்த முருங்கைக்காய் கனமா இருக்குது பசார் மலம் போனேன்
சரி பாட்டி.
அது வாங்கிட்டு வந்துட்டேன் அம்மாகிட்ட கொண்டு கொடுத்தேன்
சரி பாட்டி.
கொண்டு அம்மா கிட்ட கொடுத்து சமைக்க சொல்லுங்க
சரி பாட்டி. நீங்க கிளம்புங்க.
The world is changing, but we should always be proud of who we are.
Not in Bangsa, dog. Not in Bangsa.
I think put it in the back of you, man.
That's cool.
Yes. Okay, that ad is the perfect example of mimicry and hybridity in Malaysian context. Okay, now let me ask, what did you notice in that video?
Well, there's this group of Indian boys who are pretending to be black.
Then
They're wearing like leggings and baggy clothes and such.
what about the language? Are they speaking Tamil?
No, they're speaking English.
Yes, see. And also mention how the grandmother said pasar malam.
Yeah.
See, this is the perfect example of blending of culture. When you're living in an environment with more than one culture, eventually you will become the product of hybridity, like us.
Oh. So we're hybrids.
Yeah, we are hybrids.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Hello there. My name is Dr. Fanon and I would like to talk to you about my experience in the French Army.
I was born in Martinique, and during the Second World War, I trained to become a doctor. During the Algerian War, I enrolled myself into the French Army as a doctor. What is the Algerian War, you may ask?
6-year Algerian War. Algiers, a busy piece of metropolitan France transplanted across the Mediterranean. Frenchmen have lived and ruled here since 1830. More than 1 million Frenchmen in Algiers rub elbows with more than 10 million Muslims. At least until the night of November 1st, 1954, when the Algerian revolt against France began. Algerian Muslims took to the hills under the banner of a new organization, the FLN. They launched attacks on the French. French patrols in the back country were ambushed. Trains were derailed. Rebels smashed the villages of Muslims who opposed the FLN. Terror spread throughout Algeria.
Initially, yes, I did join the French army, but after seeing the brutality on the colonial regime, I resigned and joined the Algerian resistance instead. During this, I encountered various cases of psychological trauma. Here is one of it. An army man who was away from home to join the resistance received a letter from his wife. She said that the French army came to the house and asked where he went. Refusing to comply, they had raped her instead. She would send a letter to the husband telling this, and this had caused him to go into deep depression. His friends, noticing that there's something wrong, had sent him to me.
Mr. J, how are you feeling? Your friend said that you're feeling very distraught lately.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just give me a tonic or two to recover my headache.
By this time, I already knew something was wrong with him. It was only during the second visit that he finally told us the truth. He was unable to lead a normal life, knowing what had happened to his wife was caused by him. In his mind, it was all his fault.
She tested the French. When I was heard that she was raped, I felt angry first. But then, at least she wasn't killed.
Hence, this is why I have a very different interpretation of the colonial world than Baba. I think hybridity is a very destructive thing which had to be resisted head-on. This also means that with resistance, violence is undeniable. The traumas I uncovered did not simply disappear with decolonization, unless there was this violence overthrown to allow the colonized to regain their dignity and sense of self.
And this is why I quit the French army. Fanon out.
Hey si gadis yang manis, senyum di bibir terlalu